waters are boiling. America's war machine is on the move. President Trump pulls the lever on a gamble that could reshape the Western Hemisphere. A showdown builds. Venezuela now lies squarely in the crosshairs. Our report takes a closer look at the American military moves, which shows the threat of a full-blown war and how it's real.
The shadow of war now looms over the Caribbean. America's USS Gerald R has plowed into South American waters. It is the world's largest aircraft carrier and the largest warship ever constructed. It is flanked by missile destroyers and a swarm of aircraft, with 12,000 US troops on high alert. Trump's whirlwind, a campaign of precision naval strikes, 21 explosive operations in a matter of weeks, allegedly smashed Venezuelan narco boats, leaving casualties in their wake.
It allows us to do that, but we haven't said we're going to do that. And we may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk.
But behind that rhetoric and diplomatic outreach, there is a far more dangerous calculus. US military planners reportedly have options on the table, including strikes on Venezuelan soil. The buildup for America's Operation Southern Spear is massive. The carrier strike group brings stealth fighters, long-range missiles, surveillance aircraft, and more than 4,000 extra troops. Trump insists that he doesn't need Congress to act, as he has the firepower to follow through. Analysts say the US is sitting on enough Tomahawk missiles to strike deep. Venezuela's response has been fierce. Maduro has publicly declared maximum preparedness, mobilizing troops, civilian militias, and issuing fiery warnings. He is calling the American buildup a blatant imperial push, not a counter-narcotics mission.
It is to the people of the United States that I speak to at this moment, before these 100 jurists from 34 countries, to say, stop the insane hand of those who order bombing, killing and bringing war to South America, to the Caribbean. Stop the war. No to war.
This entire American operation hinges on one razor-thin element: surprise. The White House is banking on speed, ensuring that the world thinks this is 0 hour. Every minute that passes increases the risk of escalation. The world watches. Will Trump start a war as he aspires to get a Nobel Peace Prize for stopping multiple conflicts? Bureau Report, WION. World is One.
Joining us live on the broadcast is Diego Sequeira, political analyst, journalist, and columnist. Diego, welcome back to WION. Looking at the scale and speed of U.S. deployment in the Caribbean, do you think that this is tactical pressure against the Maduro government, or is it something wider?
It could be both at the same time, you know. It is tactical pressure because if you follow statements and even think tank papers regarding the buildup, they all rely on one thing: internal collapse, internal upheaval, the possibility of just becoming some sort of support force, something that it isn't happening yet. and I hardly see it happening. But on the same time, yes, you have all this military pressure on in order to at least to achieve some objective, which clearly states it's not about drug trafficking, it's about regime change. Funny enough, there's a pattern here. Usually we have a week that's quite quiet, and suddenly we have a very intense one, and this seems to be the second kind.
Very interesting. And while the United States and the White House insist that these moves are meant to restore stability, as you mentioned, to targeting drug cartels, it's for national security and whatnot, critics say that it could ignite a regional war, although unlikely at this point. But how prepared is Venezuela should something like that happen? And how prepared is Venezuela as the United States inserts more pressure on Maduro and his government?
This is not the first time we are under a huge amount of pressure in the last 10 years. There's of course a huge difference because of the military presence, but this is not even the first time we have a military buildup, not as massive as this one in our shores. So on the psychological level, I think it's been proven up to this almost beyond the second month of ramping up and pressure that it's not working. And regarding a more kinetic scenario, it's harder to predict. Of course, there's like a clear military superiority, so Venezuela's approach is asymmetrical in that sense. But also, I don't think the military planners are aware of what this could also wake up, let's call it that way. I don't know if it's well spelled, but what could actually arise after this kind of acts in the region. This could ensue a significant kind of blowback that will go beyond Venezuela. And of course, this also actually goes beyond Venezuela. Like you said on the report, I mean, it's, like you said actually on the previously to the report, this is about shaping the region. The thing is that maybe, regardless of what happens to the U.S., it could shape in a very different way that the U.S. is expecting and willing to see happening.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And the New York Times had a news analysis with play of words with the Monroe Doctrine. It calls it the Donroe Doctrine, Trump's bid to control the Western Hemisphere. It appears that in recent years, America's insistence on moving into the Western Hemisphere and controlling it was ideological. However, Trump's move seems more pragmatic. What's in it for the United States? Can you, and this is my final question, just give us an overview of where the United States stands, and not just Venezuela, but other countries? What are they thinking right now about U.S. asserting this pressure?
This is exactly, it is ideological, but it's also geopolitical. I mean, and it's also on the documents. You can check out, for example, Project 2025. They talk about re-hemisphering. Marco Rubio talks a lot about, during his Senate, as reshoring, as bringing capital and supply chains under control on a geographical, more manageable way instead of a globalized fashion. So it is about gathering, mustering strength and controlling the hemisphere in order to face the Asian century. That's one of the main key underlying factors in this. Not only, of course, there's an obsession. There are several reasons why Venezuela at this time, from the political aspect, from the energetic, from the geographic one, but it also goes further, and it is a project to try to face at some point the energy drive that's moving away from the West and focusing on Asia, Eurasia, actually.
Right. Very interesting. Okay. Well, Diego Sequeira, thank you so much for speaking to us. Welcome and coming back on WION. I'm sure we're going to speak soon as this story and all of this develops and moves forward as well.
For sure. Thank you very much.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.